Collage style mixed media animations have been used over and over again. So what in the world can make this style even more interesting? What else can animators and designers do to actually attract their audience and make an impact with this visual style? The solution is to make these videos truly your own, by using customized assets and transitions and resources to make the video truly yours and unique with your own visual style. If you choose to curate and handcraft your own resources and assets, then your video will automatically stand out from the rest. And the most impactful change that you can make today is to create your own collage style transitions, because transitions are the cornerstone of any video. This is the final part of my 3-part series on storytelling for mixed media and collage style animations. In part 1, we talked about key essential visual storytelling techniques. And in part 2, I put down the entire pipeline and roadmap on how to brainstorm and come up with your own ideas, turn them into your own visual style, then collect high quality assets from rich resources online, and I shared a lot of websites and a lot of resources of my own that I personally use. And then I talked about how to edit and treat those assets to the style that you developed before. And in this part, we're going to talk about making your own collage style transitions using Photoshop brushes, and I'll tell you where you can get the best brushes out there and how you can use those brushes to create transitions. And then I'll also complete the circle by telling you how to drop those transitions into After Effects and make the magic happen. So I'm super excited for this one, and I'm so proud of the amount of value I've been able to pack into these 3-part series. So definitely watch part 1 and part 2 if you haven't already, and I hope this video as well brings you a lot of value, gives you techniques and ideas that you can use in your own work. So without further ado, now let's enter the portal. So to make your own transitions, the first thing we want to do is to open a digital art software. For this video, I'm going to use Photoshop, but any other software is going to do. There are so many more open source softwares like Blender or Krita or even Affinity Designer, who has a free version or trial version. Even Adobe Photoshop has a trial version. And then you can use those softwares to actually do the exact same thing that I'm about to show you. But one of the prerequisites we need to create our own transitions is a set of brushes. And I'm going to give you guys access to some brushes that I'm going to use in this video, which are perfect for mixed media and collage style animations. And I'm also going to show you some resources, especially for the Photoshop users, on where to get really good high quality brushes for Photoshop that you can mix and match and create any kind of transition with any brush you would like. So the example I'll show you is with 1 or 2 brushes, but please keep in mind that you can do this with any brush you want and create a completely unique style to fit your own visual language, and you can do it multiple ways for multiple formats. So the first thing I want to show you is when you go to your browser, try to search this in Google. Put the name down for this person called Kyle Webster. And if you type Kyle Webster brushes and press enter, this is the page you're going to come to. And you're going to find out that Kyle Webster is actually a known person in the community of digital art. And this is because he is known for his brush packs. And he's been creating brushes for years. And he's such a gift to the community. And I've been using his brushes since the time I've started working in digital art. A few years after that, Adobe actually acquired Kyle Webster's brushes, gave access to his brushes completely for free through the Adobe license. So if you have an Adobe Photoshop license, you're going to get the entire Kyle Webster brush pack for free, and he doesn't only have one brush pack. So if you scroll down this page, you're going to come to this part where you're going to find all the different kinds of brush packs that Kyle Webster offers and Adobe has curated. So you've got art markers, you've got charcoal brushes, concept brushes, you've got dry media brushes, cross hatches. You can mix and match them, and there is no limit to the kind of transitions, the kind of effects you can create. So you can either download the brushes you need directly from here using this download button, but I can also show you another way of doing it from inside Photoshop. So I'm going to quickly switch back to Photoshop, and I'm going to show you first how you're going to get the brushes directly from Photoshop. So if you see this icon here, the icon is called brushes. If you click on them, you're going to find 2 settings. It may look a little different for your Photoshop version, but I have set up Photoshop in a very specific way, and you can copy my style as well. You can copy my workspace as well. I've just basically put brushes and the brush settings right next to each other. Sometimes in some Photoshop versions, you will find the brush settings as a separate panel button. As you can see already that I have curated brushes more than 10 years of working as a digital artist, and I absolutely love that process. And just, going through all the different kinds of brushes that are there, and just open a new file like this, an empty space, and just trying different brushes and finding out the things that I really like. And as you can see, they are so artistic, so filled and rich with texture and color that you can already imagine the number of ways you can use this for your mixed media and collage animations. And just like I said in the intro, these are the things. Knowing your brushes well, knowing the effect packs well, understanding the kind of effects and brushes that are available in the community. These are the things that will make your videos, collage animation, mixed media animation videos stand out from the rest. And this is what allows a mixed media and collage visual style always sustain the test of time. As I was saying, you can look at many of these brush packs that I have. And by the way, most of these brush packs are actually Kyle Webster brushes. And to tell you how you're going to get Kyle Webster brushes directly in Photoshop, you have to just click this little hamburger menu on the top right. When you click it, you're going to see a lot of options here in the drop down. And one of them is going to say import brushes. When you click on import brushes, you're going to get a dialog box like this. So this is one way of getting brushes that you have already downloaded by yourself. So let's download one of these brushes and show you how you can actually install them into Photoshop manually. So what I'm going to do is just click download here. And here you can see in my download bar, I've got already dry media brushes.abr. .abr is the file format for brushes, and that's downloaded. So what I'm going to quickly do is go to Photoshop and hamburger menu, click on import brushes, and you'll see you have to just find where you've downloaded it, and there you are. You've got in your downloads folder the dry media brushes. You just click enter and open, and there you go. Right here you can see the dry media brushes folder, and it's been added. So that's how you can so simply add manually brushes that you download from the internet. By the way, Adobe is not the only place where you can get brushes. There are also independent artists and organizations and studios that also create brush packs, which you can scour through and download yourself and use them as well. And I'll give you guys a few more resources from where you can get really, really nice brushes. Just before I start, I want to let you guys know that I've got 1820 by 1920, which is the aspect ratio for vertical videos. And I'm doing this just so that some of you guys who want to create transitions for your short form reels or your YouTube shorts or Instagram short form videos, this is where you're going to start. You're going to create a 1080 by 1920 canvas, and you're going to create your transitions here. What I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to just take off this default artboard that Photoshop always creates when you create a new file, because we don't need that. So I'm going to go ungroup artboards after right clicking on that file. And now we've got this transparent background, and that's exactly what we need. We don't want to create a filled background on top of it. So we're going to have this transparent background. And what I'm simply going to do is basically go to the brushes, and I'm going to pick the brush that I want to use to create this transition. And this really depends on the concept you have, the style you want to go for. For instance, if you want to talk about something like disturbing, I would go for torn pages brushes. And there's a torn paper brush folder I have, which I'm going to share with you guys, by the way. And if I click on one of them, you're going to see I've got one of these torn paper brush strokes. And if I click on them, then you're going to see I can create these very nice torn paper brushes. So in order to record this transition, what we want to do is use the Photoshop native animation timeline. And for that, we need to basically navigate to window and then click timeline. And now we've got two options here in the drop down. Make sure we select video timeline. And the moment you select video timeline, you'll get this long layer in front of you. And this layer is basically a default size, which covers all the frames of the timeline, which is not what we want. What we need to basically do is look at the number of frames that are available, but we will reduce the first frame all the way back down to the amount of time we want that first transition to start. I'm going to just take arbitrarily 1 frame, but you can also make it 10 frames. And you see this little navigation element here. You can move this slider to minimize the timeline. And then what I'll do is, the moment we have this, we've got just one layer of the timeline. And on this timeline, we usually create one brush stroke. Alright, so now with the canvas in front of you and making sure the canvas is completely visible in your viewport from top to bottom, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the first layer selected and I'm going to just press once with my brush, and now we've got this little part. What I'm going to do then, and this is important, I'm going to press Command C and this has copied it, and when I press Command Shift V, not Command V but Command Shift V, this will paste the layer in place, and then what I'll do is just click the layer and drag it in front. Now we've got two layers in a sequence, but they are the same, so you don't see any changes happen. So what we're going to do is keep the second layer selected, and I'm going to take my brush and just progress this little brush stroke forward. And now if I play it backwards, you can see what's happening. It's actually moving forward, and that's exactly how we want to build our transition. So now what I'm going to do is just continue doing that while I fill the entire canvas by clicking the brush forward and progressing from top to bottom. So Command C, Command Shift V, move the new layer in front, make sure that my new layer is selected and just click. And the size in which you're actually creating this, like of the brush or even the orientation, it is completely up to you. It really depends on the kind of video you want to create and the kind of mood, the story you want to tell. And there you go. Now, when I play the whole thing back, you're going to see what we're getting. So we can create this transition and add it in the middle of two videos, and it'll look like one video is just being torn apart and going into the second video. So that's really cool. And of course, I can always go into my brushes and do the same kind of thing with a different brush. And I'm going to show that to you right now. I'm going to just go to File, go to New, and then I'm going to create this time a horizontal full width, and we've got this 1920 by 1080p video canvas now. And this time I'm going to select a completely different brush, and I want to use one of these impressionist brushes, which I really find extremely filled with texture and it's very rich. And maybe I want to go with something like this. Maybe we can go with the Curat brush, which is this very unique kind of dotted brush, which I find very interesting. The reason I want to do this is I want to show you that you don't have to go from left to right always, or you have to go from top to bottom. Of course, you can do that, and they are a good way of creating transitions. But I want to show you that there is actually no limit to the amount of creativity you can bring to your mixed media and collage animations. If you really know the technique of doing this, then the entire world is open to you, because you can do any kind of direction, any kind of orientation by using this technique and create effects that people have not even seen yet. And this is an unbelievably cool opportunity which you can only get in a mixed media collage style visual style animation. And that's exactly what I was trying to tell you right at the beginning of the video, is that if you want to create unique collage visual styles or mixed media style animations, this is the way to do it. So I've got this Curat brush, and what I'm going to do is use the exact same technique I showed you before, but this time I'm going to do it a little different. I'm going to make it go from inside going out. So what I'll do is I'm going to do it in a spiral formation. So I've got my first layer and I'm going to just put this down. And sometimes you'll see that if you don't press it hard, it's just quite light, and that's not going to be helpful. You really want it to be really as dark as you can make it. So I'm going to just click once like this. Then I'm going to do Command C, Command Shift V, move it in front, make sure this is selected. And then I'll do once more, Command C, Command Shift V, move it in front. And just with every single stroke, the result you want to achieve at the end for this transition to work is for the entire screen to be completely filled. And you don't even have to, like, you can also symmetrically do it in multiple places. So you can also do it here and then a little bit here as well. And now we are reaching the end. So I'm just now going to keep the final frames to just fill up the entire screen. All right, I think we've covered it all. And this is always an exciting point where you can just run it back and see actually how it looks from the start. And like I said, don't worry about the speed. We can always fix the speed later, because in After Effects, you can actually manipulate the speed using the timeline, and you can re-speed it, so to speak, in After Effects. You can slow it down, you can make it faster, as long as you've got the entire thing. I've made one small mistake I can see, which is good because then you guys will know not to do it. I already put the brushstroke in the first frame. This is probably not a good thing to do. What I will now do is move the entire thing in front, take the first frame, Command C, Command Shift V, and you'll see the first two frames are the same because I just copy pasted it in the same place. But this time what I'll do is I'll click on the first layer, press E for eraser, and then just erase this out. And now what we have is from nothing, we are just starting. We are starting like that, right? You can also actually just take the entire group by selecting all of them, the ones you want to move in front, and just moving it a little bit. Command C, Command Shift V for the first one. Both of them are empty. And what I wanted to do was maybe start with a little bit more subtly. So I'm just going to make the brush a little smaller and just do a little bit like that. So now it really grows on you. So beautiful. So keep in mind that you can always go back, shift things around, and also edit and modify that brush transition that you've already created by using the eraser, by changing the size of your brushes. So these are advanced methods after you've understood the basic techniques. And like I said, if you have an open imagination, you can already start seeing how infinitely creative these techniques can actually become and how unique it can make your videos. All right. So now we've got the two transitions, one in the vertical format, one in the long form wide video format. And now what I want to show you is how you want to export this. You want to go to File and you want to go to Export and then Render Video. And then once you have render video, you want to rename this to vertical transition. And I'm going to just give it an arbitrary name, vertical transition 2025. And then make sure you change this to Adobe Media Encoder and make sure you have H.264 as the format and a high quality preset, 1080p into 920p resolution, as you can see, is fine. And of course, select your folder. I'm going to just simply do it in my desktop and then just click render. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this video. I wanted to take this small break just to announce to you that I've started a Patreon. I've got two tiers. First one is a starter tier. This is the best way you can support all the work and energy and effort that I put into these videos. And this is going to help me create so many more valuable videos, create more content and courses for you guys, so you guys can learn more about visual arts, animation, design, illustration, and the creative process. So you're immediately going to get Discord access and join the Discord community that I'm going to launch at the same time as the Patreon. And we're going to have channels like Share Your Work, Creative Inspiration, Q&A, so we can create a community of artists where we can share our resources, share our work together, and build on each other's creativity, learn more from each other. And the other big thing that you're going to get access to is all the project files and assets that I use. So this means elaborate asset libraries that I've curated myself and complex project files of my own animations that I'm going to give you guys direct access to. Now I've also got the second tier. This tier includes everything in the first tier, but also adds some special things. First is project breakdowns. I'm going to create project breakdowns and videos on tips and tricks pertaining to visual design, visual art, animation, and so on, which is not going to be there on my YouTube. So you're going to get access to that. And you're also going to get access to an exclusive Patreon show, which is called the Motion Design Portal. And here I'm going to actually pick a project or a style or an animation that I've seen on the internet and actually go into a quest to replicate and build that in my own way. So we're going to learn together on how to break down a style, how to break down an animation and build it back up again. And in the process, we're going to learn so much about new styles and new techniques. Finally, you're going to get access to all the project files and assets from each of the episodes of those shows. So this is a completely exclusive thing on Patreon, only for the higher tier guys. So if you want to learn together with me and others like you and actually join my own creative process, learn new things, learn new techniques, and get better at your craft, then definitely consider the higher tier. Again, I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy you're learning something from these videos. And if you want to support me, then definitely consider becoming a patron and joining my journey of creating a new vision for creators through stories, through tutorials, and through creating a creative vision for ourselves. Thank you. And now back to the video. All right. So now we are in After Effects and I'm going to show you guys how to actually use the transition inside After Effects, how to actually implement it between footage videos. So what we're going to do is create a composition and I'm going to select my preset from here for vertical videos. And here we have a nice vertical composition. I'm going to do Command Y and have like a light gray background. Also, I'm gonna now import two videos into the composition. Okay, so I just added two very random videos, but it's not so important what the videos are for this case. So I've just a small snippet of a work in progress of an illustration I've been making, and also a 3D scene I created in Cinema 4D. Probably not the best video example, but I can still match it up here. So the idea is to just show you how to actually place the transitions between two footage layers in After Effects and use our transition to transition between the two videos, right? So what I'm going to do now is just go into my transitions folder. So if I just put this on here for instance and scrub through, you're going to be able to see that the brushes are actually scrubbing through. And I can see that the time of the brush animation is quite longer than our composition. So what I'm going to do here, and this is also a quick trick for you guys to time the transitions exactly the way you want to in terms of the footage and the duration of your composition, the duration of your scene, or even the duration of the footages between you're going to transition. So one thing you can do is right click on the transition layer, but first let's do something quickly. It's a great habit to have. I'm going to just double click and call this transition so I can quickly find it. And now I'm going to right click and go to time and then click on enable time remapping. And once you click on enable time remapping, you're going to see a keyframe here, and you're going to see a keyframe. You're not going to be really able to see the keyframe because it's uh, way past the composition timeline. What you can easily do is just pull this back. So what I just did is like I just dragged the layer back. Of course, I've lost the keyframe here, but that's totally fine. What I'm going to do is pull this keyframe back and then again drag the layer back, right? And now we have both the keyframes inside the view of the timeline. And I'm going to just have the last keyframe here, and that's going to mark the speed of the transition, right? So you can also, of course, increase the composition time and then just change the endpoint to see how fast or slow you want the transition to be. For me, this is the speed of the transition right now. And you know what? I feel like for our example here, and I'm going to turn the volume off here. I feel like for our example here, I would want the transition to go slightly slower. So what I'm going to simply do is go to come to composition settings, and then just increase the time of the composition to 30 seconds more, and then minus on the keyboard to zoom out. And now I have a little bit more time, and I'm going to pull this keyframe longer. So now it's going to become slower. Now that's a bit too slow. I would put it somewhere here, and that's perfect, right? And I'm gonna get the indicator in the last keyframe and press N to just define the work area, or the end point of the work area there, so we can just work here and increase the background. Even though it's not really important to even have the background, it's totally okay. I'm gonna just lock it. Now here's the important part: to transition between these two scenes, so this one and this one, and I want to transition from one video to the other using the transition layer as a matte. So what I'm going to simply do is I'm going to turn on this layer and keep it on top first, and then simply take the first video, the video on top basically, or the first video that's you want to transition from, and then go to track matte and then click transition and define it as an alpha matte. And then you can see already that this is happening, but it's the other way around. The cave video was the first video, and I want to move from the cave video to the girl. So right now it's opposite. We want it the other way around because the video is also at the top here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check mark this little button, which is inverting the matte. So the moment I invert the matte, now what we have here is a transition directly from the first video to the second video. And I can also, of course, go anytime into the transition layer, press U to open up the selected properties and just increase this speed of the transition. There you go, right? And you can see here right at the beginning, I have this little cutout. That's not good. What we want to do is just move this forward. So not the keyframe, but the beginning of the layer. And now we have the video before, and just the moment where you want to start transitioning, you can place the in point of the transition there and then just play, and there you go. Now we have a seamless little transition. Alright, now we've reached the end of our 3-part series on mastering visual storytelling for mixed media and collage style animations. I really hope this series has brought you a lot of value. You've learned new techniques and new ideas that you can apply in your own work, in your own creative field, in making your own content, and I hope you can reap the benefits from it. So if you're interested in mixed media animations and collage style in particular, and you want to dig deeper and learn new secret techniques and pro tips, then definitely watch this video. And if you're interested in motion graphics in general, and you want to learn how to be a digital animator, then I've created a whole motion graphics beginner tutorial and you can watch it here. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.